Hi guys, and welcome back to Hummingbird Acres. Our tomatoes have started to take off, which means it is time to start training them to climb this trellis, and we need to do some pruning on them today. So we are going to tie these up and get them all pruned. I am going to start by tying up these tomatoes to the trellis. Now to do this, I like to use nylon stockings. So these are used nylons, and I've just cut them in to strips. I find that these stretch really nicely, and that way they can grow with the plant and they're easy to cut if I have to cut them. So what I'm going to do is put this right up here, and this one I'm probably going to have to suspend it for a little bit because it's not quite tall enough. So I'm just going to tie this up. See if I can get this. Just like this. And then I am going to start pruning, and I'm going to prune. I want 1 leader on, like 1 stem leader on this, so I'm going to do a very heavy pruning. So I'm going to cut off, I'm using my Friskers snips, I'm going to cut off anything that isn't the main stem, which on this first time is going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm cutting off so much. But this really is for the health of the plant, and will get the plant to grow taller and stronger. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one like that for now. So you can see I cut off, I'm going to actually cut off this sucker that's right here too. You can see where it angled off, and the one coming up in the middle is called a sucker. So I did a pretty heavy prune on that one. Let's move on to the next one. All right, let's look at this next one. This one is actually a plant from the other side, but that is okay. Again, okay, not quite ready to completely like be weaved in and out of the cattle panel, but it's still up there. I'm gonna see, I'm gonna zoom in and show you guys how I'm going to prune this. So this looks very bunchy, and I'm just gonna cut anything that is not the main stem. Oh, I'm pulling another plant.
This is amazing. I can't believe we have tomatoes like in this whole bed. Is this
Henley, that's enough.
Tomatoes?
Yes. And then what I can do, this one is a little bit tall enough so I can start to weave this in the cattle panel. Alright, I'm going to go on the other side and do the one that's right there because I thought it was another one. We do have these staggered when we planted them so that they would have enough room to grow. So this one is long enough to feed through. So I'm going to do that and
look at this.
Tie it on here. Alright, and again on this one, I am going to cut off anything that's not the main stem. That one will eventually get cut off, but
this one?
Actually, I'm going to cut it off now. There we go. Alright, so that cleaned up that one pretty nicely. Alright, I'm going to continue working down this row, getting them tied up and getting them pruned. The reason I am pruning these so fiercely is because I need to get the leaves off the ground to prevent disease. So If they are laying on the ground, they're more prone to have water sitting on them, and water sitting on the leaves just asks for trouble. Another tip for doing this is you want to do it on a day where it's not too sunny and not too hot. That way the tomatoes don't have too much shock. And I'd also suggest making sure that the day that you do this, you give them a really good drink of water after. And this might look really rough in the beginning, but if you give it about a week or even just a couple of days, they are going to bounce back and be beautiful, I promise. Something, if you wanted to grow more tomatoes, is you could put all of these suckers in water and then they would start to grow roots, and then you could plant the roots. And I think I'm gonna do that with some of these bigger suckers because we do have a whole nother bed that we need to plant, and we want to plant them with tomatoes. So I am going to do that. I'm gonna send Hen inside to get me a jar full of water. Yep. Okay, so Henley got me a glass of water. We are just going to
stick them in there.
Stick some of these in here. Wait, hold on, you gotta pull off the bottoms. All right, perfect. All right, we will put this inside in the window. If you want to see how it is doing and how they are growing, make sure you guys head on over to Instagram and follow us. I've left the link below for you, and you guys can see how these root, and then we'll get them planted in the garden.
It looks like a tomato bouquet.
It does look like a tomato bouquet, and I like that. I am going to toss some of these clippings into our in-ground, in-bed worm compost bin. the worms are going to love it. If you want to see more about this bin, I'll leave a link below for you. Worm composting is awesome if you are gardening in a small space and want to produce your own compost. The first pruning of our tomatoes is done. It still looks a little rough. It looks better than it did when I started. It still looks a little rough, but if I give it probably by 7 days, another week, these will have climbed up more and I'll be able to tie them to the trellis a little bit better, and you'll really get to start to see how we train these up for maximum harvest and to decrease the chances of disease. So make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you guys can see how I prune these for the second time and how we start to train them up the trellis. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me at the farmhouse today, and we'll talk to you soon.